Hurricane Debby is likely to cause historic rains of up to 30 inches in Georgia, the Carolinas, and Florida. But I'm going to show you what nobody else does, the reason why. So starting out with the radar, this is the storm wrapping up now. The heavy bands lashing the west coast of Florida, and it's moving directly towards Appalachia Bay. That's a problem. Here's why. Running into tonight and tomorrow, the storm actually makes its way right in through here. You can see the concave shape of the bay. Now, on the east side, the right-hand side of motion, that's where the storm surge is at its worst, and that's coming in right where my cursor is, right there. Now, there is no real communities there right on the coast. That's wildlife refuge that would get flooded, but notice the storm did move directly over Tallahassee, which is located right in through here. Then, instead of continuing on and moving out into the ocean, notice it stalls. And it does so over Georgia while it thinks about what to do. And I'll show you why it's stalling with the GFS computer model. Now, I'm taking you up to 18,000 feet so you can see the problem. This trough right here passes by the east coast and allows the storm to move up and not get carried out to sea because this passes it by. That leaves no steering currents at first until eventually this next trough dives down. It causes it to move back out in the ocean, and then this passes it by and leaves it stalled again to the east of Savannah. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen. It may stall inland, in which case it's a different scenario, but the same thing happens. You get heavy rain either way. Now, look what happens here on the GFS. This is hysterical. Because it's waiting for that third trough right in through here, the upper Midwest, it moves back down into the Gulf of Mexico. It loops around and ends up moving right back into Appalachia Bay and the same exact part of North Florida later on in the game before finally ejecting and moving northeastward up the eastern seaboard. Watch that last bit. This is late week when it moves up the eastern seaboard like this, and then causes storm formation, probably non-tropical storm, maybe tropical though, and that moves up to New England on the GFS. Now, the European does something very similar, but it bounces it out to sea at the very last minute, sparing New England. But it does that same thing with kind of a loop-de-loop in the southeastern United States. So how much rain does this produce on our computer models? A lot. In fact, it only goes up to 15 inches in this diagram. The darkest browns are 15 inches of rain. Specifically, it's calling for 10 inches in Tallahassee and in also Savannah and Charleston, all three. And the National Hurricane Center is figuring 20 to 30 inch locally in this band. Now, yesterday, on Saturday, I had mentioned that this band from the NHC was offshore. It wasn't inland, but that didn't make sense because the storm center is stalling, likely over the southeast for a while. Now they've updated that, and they're calling for historic flooding, perhaps the likes of which we haven't seen in decades down in the southeast, which has already been soaked recently. So, of course, the bottom line is don't try to cross flooded roadways. Be on the lookout. If you live in a flood-prone area, be on the lookout. You may have to move to higher ground. First, of course, the small streams go, and then the rivers go after that. Enjoyed my content and want more just like this? Please consider supporting me. Check out how in my profile, and of course, follow me so you'll get notified when I do another space or weather update.